Nnamdi Kanu's lawyer Aloy Ejimako breaks down how Justice Omotosho manipulated law to convict Nnamdi Kanu. He details how Omotosho manipulated and misinterpreted legal provisions to arrive at his decision to sentence Nnamdi Kanu to life imprisonment. Just watch the full video to hear all the details as the lawyer exposes everything that happened. Watch the video. We will be back.
Let me start with you, Barrister Ejimako. I mean, it's taken 10 years after he was first arrested to get to today's verdict and sentence. What questions does that raise for you as a lawyer?
Well, the verdict, both the verdict and the sentence came as a huge surprise to me. First of all, this is a classic case of someone being convicted solely on words he had uttered from elsewhere, not even from Nigerian soil. For instance, the judge reeled out what was purported to be broadcasts made by Nnamdi Kanu from his location in the UK during the NSAS protest, and the judge relied or pivoted on that as one of the bases upon which he granted the conviction. But guess what? A lot of people died during the NSAS. A lot of them were innocent citizens. Notably, a lot were massacred at Lekki Toll Gate. And the NSAS report from Lagos State, mainly, and from Abia State, never indicted Mazi Nnamdi Kanu or any member of IPOB or anything IPOB. But you see, the judge just went too far in extrapolating that NSAS incident and blaming it solely on Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and not on any overt act, any physical act that he committed on the soil of Nigeria, but solely on speeches or broadcasts he made or utterances he might have made from his location in the UK. So that one is number one. Number two is that the judge also made references to utterances Mazi Nnamdi Kanu made in the United States as far back as 2014, before the World Igbo Congress event. That was 10 years ago. And then, just a statement that one could say was mere puffery. We need guns, we need this and all that. And then suddenly, all of a sudden, 9 years later, you said you now granted a conviction on the claim that statement led to the death of someone in Nigeria. You see, they have thousands of IPOB or so-called IPOB, alleged IPOB members in detention, and none came forward. They never extracted any confession, which was tendered in court, linking Nnamdi Kanu's utterances of speeches or broadcasts to any actual violence or crime or act of terrorism in Nigeria. None whatsoever. Okay.
Well, I will come back to you in a minute, but thank you for setting out that stall. Let me come to you, Honorable Etana Bene. I hope I'm getting your name right. Based on what you're hearing from a lawyer, Ejimako, the barrister, as well as what I presume you saw in court today, are you feeling distinctly queasy about this verdict?
Well, thank you for having me. Ordinarily, I'm not too surprised, based on the events, of how this case started, By the way, I'm a lawyer also, so I kind of understand how, it has come to this point. However, for me, criminality against the state, I try to separate it into different forms. You have economic criminality against the state. We're talking about corruption and all those other things. Social criminality, we'll be talking about murder, kidnapping, arson, and so on and so forth like that. Then we also have political criminality. This area is very wide. It's very wide, depending on how you see it. The actions of certain group of persons, tend to undermine, codified laws of the state. It's what they call all this subversion and all those things, like that. But you see, it is not generally acceptable by all the parties concerned. If a group of persons feel for reasons best to their interests, says this is how they feel, if you tell them at that point that they are committing crime against the state, they will not accept it. They will rather want you to take out what is making them, react, in that form, for you or for everybody to say, yes, a crime has been committed. I don't want to go far into many examples. If not, I'll be talking about, why some people say there's genocide somewhere, and some people say, no, there's no genocide, somewhere. So you that is feeling it, So most political criminality issues, it's not today. It started many years ago. Then Nelson Mandela, they went through such trials, Nkrumah, even in Nigeria, even the perceived winner of our June 12th election, was convicted based on, political criminality. So for me, when we get into the topic of political criminality, my first response to handling this matter is also political. Not through the legal processes. All these, our forefathers, Jaja of Opobo, Nana of great Nana of Ichekiri, Oba of Verami, they opposed against the status at that time. They tried them, but we know that they were fighting for the liberation, of our people. So most political criminality, I rather suggest that we should explore every alternative dispute resolution techniques, before we begin to talk about, all this. I listened attentively to the judge as he was delivering, the judgment. I did not see anywhere that the gentleman was tried, for murder. If not, would have had people coming to testify that he killed the people who died would have been mentioned. All the first, second, third count, 4, 5 as it may be, the utterances, statements made. I was born in Saple, all this kind of talk. We have heard them many times. We don't take them, seriously. But in any case, all the things he said, were words that the state wants to hear. But I did not hear when he said that the issues in the Southeast can be resolved if they give him 20 minutes or a few days, to those are very positive words for peace.
But you would have thought that those words would be coming from him in his defense. And because the court relied essentially on the prosecution to get the case through, because Nnamdi Kanu was not putting forward that kind of defense, especially at the critical time when he needed to deliver that defense towards the end of the trial.
My brother Charles, see, there are some cases, you don't just bother yourself. If the state or the powers that be, are fixed, their mind, on it. Look.
And is that your assessment?
If you may recall,
is that your assessment that they fixed their minds on it?
The stories were on. If you may recall, the Ogoni 9, at a particular point, Gani Fawehinmi had to withdraw, from that, case. And it also so many other instances like that. If you feel you are not getting, judgment the way you like, why continue?
Right. Okay.
Even in elections,
right.
there are people who manage to go through the trial of elections tribunal when they know that they are not going to get justice.
Well, let me ask you to hold on there. We're going to come back to you in a minute, and let me go to our off-site studio where Professor Abiodun Adeniyi has been patiently waiting. Thank you very much indeed, Prof, for staying with us. What are your initial reactions to the court's decision? Do you think it's a fair outcome or a politically motivated one?
Well, thank you very much, Charles. First, I never expected that the case would last this long, because my impression about the matter is, like the honorable member from Delta State said, quite political. I was imagining that long before now, it should have been taken out of court through what attorneys call nolli prosecute, so that the tension in the land or the disturbances in the Southeast, which existed prior to this time, will probably, have been mitigated on account of the release of somebody who has been identified as a symbol of the struggle, of the youths, or the sentiments that often resonates in that region, as the case could be. So ordinarily, I was expecting that it should have been resolved long before now. But there are also some other issues that kept arising. The personality in question appears to be somebody who is somewhat tempestuous. We keep seeing him in calls and in places appearing slightly unrepentant, as the case could be, consistently fearing things that will also continuously be irritating to the powers that are interested in prosecuting him. And of course, in the build-up towards the end, the business end of the trial, lawyers who are trained in the business of defending and prosecuting supposedly or were reported to have pulled out, from around him, that he was going to defend himself. This is somewhat strange, and I'm wondering, I started wondering how he was going to pull this through successfully. So what we are seeing now appears really predictable, but there's also a room, a reason for us to be gratified that the judge didn't give, a death sentence. Life imprisonment, still gives some more room for some window, some positive window. And of course, we also still know that higher courts are still there, the appeal court is there, the Supreme Court is also still there. There might be some room in the future for the judgment to be reversed or to be reviewed, as the case could be. And again,
again, political solution is still a continuous thing, something that can still continue. The narrative is not ended yet. In the future, there might still be a need for us to have some consequential review, remembering that in recent years we have had government pardoning all kinds of people, So in the future, we might see some government, without prejudice toward this appeal court, the Supreme Court will say in respect of Nnamdi Kanu, we might still have some political solution to the case, because what it means with Nnamdi Kanu remaining in prison is that something is still missing in nation-building efforts. We know what he represents. We know that he has sympathizers, and we know there's some powerful sentiment supportive of his cause. And if that cause, that sentiment is locked in prison, it still means that it's something that we haven't dealt with. So I still believe that in the future, whether in the short or long term, it's something that we need revisiting. This could be Charles.
Prof, thank you very much indeed for that. So let me come to you, Barrister, because the professor mentioned there the rather perplexing occurrence during this trial that Nnamdi Kanu decided to fire his entire legal team. I mean, did he undermine his case by doing that? I mean, you were a member of, in fact, you were at the forefront of his legal team. I mean, and then you were suddenly transformed into a consultant, and you couldn't even speak in court today on his behalf. I mean, did he undermine his own case by doing that?
No, he didn't. This is not the first time it has happened. You recall that Awolowo had defended himself, if you go back to 1963 in history. At some point, Mahatma Gandhi defended himself in South Africa and even in India. And Nelson Mandela at some point defended himself. So did Martin Luther King. It's not unusual. This is a politically charged case. I think a strategic decision was made by him at some point that he probably would have done a better job than the lawyers. The lawyers do these cases within a very narrow confine of some decorum or some kind of behavior that is imposed on the lawyers that may sometimes may become prejudicial to the client in a politically charged case like this. This case wasn't a complex case. This case depended very much on a misguided prosecutorial policy that pretty much zeroed in on Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, maybe because of the region he came from. That prosecutorial policy is not being levied northwards. We have a different prosecutorial or different counter-terrorism policy up in the north, which is engagement.
Well, let me come in there and ask.
The comparison may be too far afield.
Well, let me come in there.
It has to be an equal opportunity crime.
Indeed, but let me come in there and ask you this, because of the fact that you raised the issue of the southeast. What are the potential security risks in the southeast region in your assessment? Do you think this verdict will lead to increased tensions or calm in the region? Briefly.
Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is committed to non-violence. I also take this opportunity to appeal for calm, just like others have done. But whether people are angry or not, they are indeed angry, because there is a perception that this whole thing is sectionalized. That perception has to be removed, and the growing notion that he's being singled out, is gaining currency. So how do we stop this? We stop it by the government changing its policy a little bit to, giving everybody equal opportunity, equal pay real.
Right.
If you did something wrong, if you are from the north, they treat you as badly as they treat someone who did it wrong from the east or the west. But when you single a certain region and you levy an attritional prosecution against someone, it creates this perception. And of course, it kind of heightens the alienation of that very region and makes worse the very problem you're trying to solve, the problem of inclusion and exclusion.
Right.
And this is what is driving the agitation. But having said that, calm is required, because we still have opportunities laying ahead.
Indeed. Let me come to you, Honorable Benedict Tenabene. I mean, you are a member of the House of Representatives. You're a lawmaker. Does this verdict and sentence have implications for Nigeria's national unity and cohesion, bearing in mind that you're not from the southeast yourself?
Thank you very much. See, that's even the more reason why I am concerned, because I'm not from the southeast. But as a Nigerian, I'm beginning to think that the earlier we solve some certain problems, the better for us as a nation. This Boko Haram thing didn't just, come. It started at one point. Did we manage it well? No. It's snowballed into what we cannot control today. And there are so many other things happening in this country that I think, if you serve the plate well for one, you should serve for the others. This banditry has gone to an extent where states are beginning to negotiate with them. We didn't kill them. There are guys who come to a meeting in State House with machine guns wrapped all over their body, with army personnel in attendance. We are looking at them, we are negotiating, and yet these guys are not dropping, arms. This situation in the Southeast, I'm not holding brief, for the gentleman. I have my reservations, but entirely what it's all about is about the interest of the Southeast. Let me tell you, Charles, a quick one. I thought the live coverage of this judgment, I put my mind empty to see from both sides squarely. I thought it was going to serve a good purpose for Nigeria, but at the end of the day, I'm beginning to think, no, there are new issues that came out. One, you say the man said that my people should defend themselves against marauders, bandits from Futajelon, Mali, and certain naming other countries. Is that not the right thing to even do in Nigeria today? To tell your people if government cannot defend you, you should be able to tell your people. The only side that concerns Nigeria is that you mentioned Nigeria. But indeed, I would be happy if I see a brave man from my place saying that people from another country coming to invade Nigeria, killing our soldiers, killing our citizens, kidnapping innocent girls, and we are looking at them, we are not doing anything about it. So let us not create a situation. I see most of his statements, the way he delivers it might not be okay by me, but I see his statement more of a very strong interest against protecting the rights of his people. It happened in Niger Delta, the militants. And at the end of the day, a compromise was reached. Today, Nigeria is better off with that compromise, because they are even helping to protect our oil facilities, and we are earning more money, from it. If we are gone in that same crisis mood, no. I take something away from this man, this young man. He said, yes, there are crises everywhere, not only in the Southeast, but let me go. Give me the opportunity. Let me go in 20 days or in 20 minutes, whatever. A desire to bring peace. I think we should not throw away, that option.
Indeed. Thank you, Honourable Tenabene. And let me come to you, Professor Adeniyi. Is there a risk that this verdict could galvanize support for the separatist movement, or will it weaken it, in your assessment?
I think it's just once more highlight the fact that legal justice may not be sufficient for nation building in a situation where social justice would rather suffice. Now, issues around us are far transcending Nnamdi Kanu. We are seeing terrorism being on the rise. We know what has happened in the last couple of days in this country, and it's becoming increasingly disturbing. Even as we speak, there's a session going on Nigeria in the U.S. Congress. We are on the global spotlight on account of our inability to manage our territory, unfortunately. And this, we do not know how it will pan out, considering how Trump has remained unapologetic on his threat to attack this country. And we know what this means. All this simply says, what it simply means is that maybe in the past we have been lethargic on how we have been handling our internal affairs. So the issues we have to deal with now goes beyond Nnamdi Kanu. Includes people, unrepentant terrorists once more, who are operating in the northern flank of the country and becoming increasingly vociferous, threatening the very foundation of the Nigerian nation state. We do not know what our future is going to look like. So I want to argue that perhaps the government should not prioritize legal justice above social justice in managing what appears like political crisis, political agitations, what appears like concerns, by ethnic groups, to highlight themselves within the fragile Nigerian nation state. And Nnamdi Kanu has come to represent a section of this country, believing that that section is rightly or wrongly underrepresented, underportrayed, within the body politic. The subtext, shouldn't be undermined. The subtle message that he represents, that he's trying to pass across, should not be ignored at the expense of legal justice.
Right.
We know how these things have happened in history, and we know how nations have tried to manage them, to grow out of continuous divisions, which Nigeria is still witnessing. And so we need to focus more on the bigger picture, not on the narrow prism of individuals who are probably being the armor bearers, for what they consider to be the underrepresentation of their regions and groups or ethnicities, as the case could be, Charles.
Right. Those are very good points, Prof, and I'm glad you brought them up. So let me come to you, Barrister Aloy Ejimakor. There are still, of course, the political grievances, as Prof pointed out, and the Honourable Tenabene as well. There's still the grievances that gave rise to all this agitation in the first place. I mean, what should the Nigerian government do next to address the root causes of the conflict and prevent further unrest? Because for instance, today, and I think Prof mentioned this earlier as well, Nnamdi Kanu's conviction was actually mentioned in the US congressional hearing on Nigeria, which is taking place in the US Congress as we speak, and it was described as a travesty of justice, his conviction. Are you encouraged by that as his legal team prepares to go and appeal, and you assess all this from the point of view of the points he was trying to score?
Well, I don't know what went down.
Unfortunately, we've only got about a minute, so you have to really be pithy in your answer.
Well,
Sorry, we're out of time.
I understand that word is, but the government can step in. When Awolowo was convicted in 1963 for treason, that conviction was equally questionable, and it was overturned through a political decision that was, there's a debate whether it was Gowon or Ojukwu that made that decision, but in any case, it was a political decision that set him free. Nelson Mandela as well, he was convicted. He served time, long 27 years. It was political decision of the South African government under de Klerk that set him free. So was that of Enahoro, Nnamdi Azikiwe, Mbazulika Amechi, and then when you go to the United States itself, Martin Luther King was convicted at one point.
Right, very briefly, we're almost out of time.
And again, Mahatma Gandhi. So now this conviction, described as a travesty of justice, not just by the United States, by everybody. So it gives Nigerian government the opportunity to step in. Okay. If something went down, something went wrong, there's a new opportunity, a new window of opportunity to solve it. You see, America took a very weighty decision recently to intervene security-wise in this country, and they never mentioned the IPOB on Nnamdi Kanu anyway. If they do, it's going to be in favorable terms, not in disfavorable terms.
Okay, I've got to go.
Kind of points a way forward for Nigerian government to do that, so that this sense of exclusion and alienation in the South is that it's running rife will be checked once and for all.
Barrister Aloy Ejimako, Honourable Benedict Tenabene, and of course Professor Abiodun Adeni. I want to thank all of you exceedingly. That's it for
This is the fate of Igbos in Nigeria. The conviction of Nnamdi Kanu has clearly shown how Igbos are being treated in the country called Nigeria. You convicted a man who is seeking justice for his people, who is fighting to free his people from injustice, manipulating the justice, bringing out charges that does not exist just to convict him. You distorted Nigerian law, bent Nigerian law only to convict a man from a particular region, irrespective of evidence he presented to defend himself before the beginning of his case. You people have predetermined what the outcome will be. You have written the script, prepared it ready, waiting for the final judgment to use the script to convict him because he is an Igbo man. You had not caught him with weapon. You have never caught him with those allegations you brought before him in the court, but only to convict him on unexisting law, on just mere a broadcast. The broadcast he made outside Nigeria, the broadcast he made abroad, you use as evidence to convict a man because he is an Igbo man, manipulating, twisting, and bending Nigerian law, only just to achieve this purpose. But the Nigerian government have been freeing Boko Haram. They will catch terrorists that have killed millions of people. They will release them and call them repentant Boko Haram. They will rehabilitate them, pay them, and bring them back to the society. But a man who is trying to free his people from corruption, from injustice, you people brought against their region, against their people, and you pass a dangerous verdict on him, on life imprisonment. This is what Igbos have been passing through. You can see the injustice. They will catch terrorists. They will negotiate with terrorists, people that have been kidnapping, killing innocent citizens. Government will be negotiating with them. People that send millions of Nigerians to IDP camp. Those people they rendered homeless are still in IDP camp. But they will release the killers, brought them back to society, and call them repentant Boko Haram, and recruit them into our government sectors. Imagine this kind of country. Imagine this kind of country. How can Nigeria move forward while all these things are happening in the country? How can Nigeria move forward? You bent on punishing one particular region, denying them their rights. People that are part of your country, you are marginalizing them, denying them a lot of things, infrastructures, development. Those things they are supposed to benefit from being Nigerians. You deny them all. But when they say they want to leave the country, you begin to kill them, begin to destabilize them, begin to suppress them. Nigerian government has applied all level of suppression against the Igbos to make sure that Igbos are nothing in Nigeria. But they don't know that God exists.
Final written address is a constitutionally mandated right which I must be granted. It is in the constitution of this very country that final written addresses, my Lord, must be granted. I have not waived it, my Lord, and I insist that I address this court on all these issues. My Lord, do not permit
the defendant,
my Lord.
Consultant, can you tell your...
I will not, please, let me finish.
Please.
It is my case.
I've gone...
It is my case, my Lord, let me finish. My Lord, this very court, another idea that FAN was here, my Lord, another idea that FAN said, at the right time we will contradict and provide a piece of evidence. A piece of evidence given to the court. I need to write my family address, my Lord,
on a count charge which with DOS.
my Lord, I'm saying it clearly.
Defendant,
I'm trying to come to address.
defendant,
What is the family address? The constitution. My family address.
defendant,
The family address.
can you listen to the court?
I'm not, my Lord, please.
Can you listen to the court?
My Lord, I need to find my family within address. It's in the constitution.
I appeal to you to comport yourself this temple of justice.
My Lord, you are blessed. You are blessed. This is not law. You are blessed. It's not law.
Please, I beg you to comport yourself.
My Lord, this is not law. Show me where it says you can break my right to address.
Beg you to
Show me.
comport yourself.
Show me where it says you can break my right to family within address.
You
Show me.
in the
My Lord, you are conducting the case for them. You are preparing the case for them. Let them show me the constitution. Show me where it says you can break my right to family within address.
you have the right to appeal after my...
No, my Lord, this is your conduction of the court of justice. This is not law.
Can you excuse me?
My Lord, I cannot excuse.
Let him
It's not possible. It is not possible. My Lord,
take him.
you must tell me where the constitution says you have the right to break my right to address. You must tell me.
Excuse him.
Show me. Show me where it says so. Show me. Show me where it says so.
Excuse him at...
Is that how you brought the camera? Is that how you brought them today?
Please,
You didn't bring it before. You brought it today?
please,
Show me where it says you can find me on the state law. Show me.
please, get the microphone from him, please.
I said, show me. Show me.
Excuse
Show
me.
me.
Get the microphone from him.
No, leave it. Leave it. Leave it. I said, leave it. It's a court of law. I'm under trial. I'm under trial. I have to speak. I'm under trial and I have to speak. Listen to me. Listen to me, please. I'm under trial. I'm under trial.
Please use the
I'm
microphone.
under trial. And I must address the court. Please. Wait. No, listen to me. Please. The judge must listen to me. No. Wait. Wait. I'm asking a very simple question. No. Wait. Please. This is Supreme Court. Hold on. This is Supreme Court here. Hold on a second. I said, hold on. May it please your lordship.
Please.
May I refer the lordship to section 266 of ABDA? It's not court of law. What you're doing is not law.
Please.
You don't know the law.
Please.
Show me.
Please.
I said, show me.